Welcome to the Normal People Fitness Podcast. My name is Steve Marsden, and we're going to talk about getting fit, getting healthy, feeling good, while eating the things you want to eat and doing the things you want to do. Hello friends, it's Steve here. How are we all doing? What a crazy year. I've decided to do a bit of an emergency Christmas podcast because we're at that time of year, lovely festive joy. That's what it usually is, but unfortunately we've had a crazy year, haven't we? Like, who would have predicted 12 months ago that we would have a global pandemic, that we'd have closed most of society, we'd have been banned from exiting our houses just in case we killed our grannies. Wow, been crazy, hasn't it? Been absolutely crazy. I've had an absolute shocker. And I'm sure many people have. There are many things that I'm grateful for. I think the world will recover and advance. And I think that there will be a lot of hidden positives that come from this. And I know that myself, especially, I am grateful for a lot of little things. I'm grateful for seeing people in person. I'm grateful because I get to do what I absolutely bloody love to do, even though it has been a little bit, I don't know, we'll call it disrupted this year. I'm grateful for the people I've got around me. I'm grateful that, I've not died. I think that's a very, very valid thing. And I think, it's really easy to be negative and anxious, but if you focus on the gratitude, the things that you're positive and the things that you're thankful for, it does make things a little bit easier. Now, enough of that unbridled positivity. Let's talk Christmas. Because Christmas is a very, very social time in our own houses, which means lots and lots of food. And it's a bit of a cliche, but generally people put on weight over Christmas. And I'm not saying that you have to diet all the way through at all. Myself personally, I will probably eat my body weight in many different things, but understand that I'll put weight on and that it doesn't actually take that long once I get back to normal afterwards. But I think there's a bit of an anxiety, there's a lot of emotion about Christmas weight gain, and then it leads to this sort of January, I'm going to say cleanse. It's not really, don't cleanse, but a January period in which people like to go on diets and like to go to the gym. Now, I would never ever discourage people from that, but and I'll talk about this. I've also talked about it in episode 1 about how to sort of create a plan when you're going to get back to the gym, and I'll share that on my social media. But there is this desperate frenzy to lose all the weight that you put on over the past 20 years in 1 month. And I'm going to explain how I would firstly approach Christmas to limit weight gain, if you would like, and then secondly create a plan for you in January. So that's how I'm going to look at it. So why is Christmas actually bad? Because if you deconstruct it a little bit, you'll find you've got a Christmas party. Now, they're gone this year, unless you're doing it on Zoom, but still drinking and eating the same amount as you would if you were with people. And there's been numerous studies done that when we're with other people, we eat about 70% more than we would if we were on our own. So let's pretend we're not having Christmas parties this year. We have Christmas Eve. I know a lot of families like get together on Christmas Eve. There's usually food involved. And any food, when there's a large group of people, usually involves picky buffets on Christmas Eve, or it does at least in my family and a lot of that I know of. Now, when we have picky buffets and we're chatting and we're distracted, we don't usually understand how much we're consuming. But hey, it's Christmas Eve. It's one day a year. Then we've got Christmas Day. Christmas Day is what? Sit-down meal. You have chocolate if you open that. My mum actually buys many we'll call it a savoury and sweet treat for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and we're not allowed to eat it till then. There's a very strict embargo on when we can have it, but we're always too full to have any of it by the time those things come around. But yeah, food and alcohol on Christmas. Now, we also have Boxing Day. That involves eating a pizza in my house. It's a tradition that has been there since I was a very young child because I don't want bubble and squeak. I'm not a fan. Sorry if I offend anyone, but I'm not a fan of bubble and squeak. And then finally, you've got sort of the New Year's Eve, a lot of alcohol, maybe a buffet, maybe a meal, maybe a party, and then you've got a meal. So we're looking at about 5 to 6 days where our calorie intake is probably sky high compared to what we would usually have. And listen, if someone goes on holiday and eats and drinks all the time, that's not an issue. We have it off within a couple of weeks. The reason why I believe Christmas is bad for weight gain, the waistline, sort of a body composition, is because of sort of this wintry December attitude. Let me explain this. Let me explain that attitude and sort of what it does to our behaviours. So, first thing we'll look at is the fact it's dark and it's cold outside. And with the advent of working from home, we just don't do as many steps, as much movement, a non-exercise movement as we would usually. And because we're now walking from home, we're not even walking to, say, the train station, the bus stop. We're not even walking far to go to the toilet or to go to the canteen at work. You have that limited movement and therefore less of a calorie burn throughout the day. I've had numerous conversations, recording this on the 15th of December. I've had numerous conversations within the past 2 weeks with people, with members of the gym, and I absolutely bloody love these people. But they say to me, I'm just going to leave it till after Christmas now. And I've been having these conversations since actually late November. And that's 6 to 7 weeks of not exercising, which there's no real reason for. I don't know if I'm just biased and just a bit being a wanky PT about it, but that's nearly 12, 13, 14% of a year that we're not moving for because it's Christmas. And Christmas to me is 6 days in the middle of a 2-week period. And it's very, very easy to just sort of give up. And I've never really understood why people do this, why people waste an opportunity to sort of keep a routine up. But listen, it's dark, it's cold, and maybe they can't be bothered, and that is their choice. But when you make a choice not to sort of maintain exercise habits during this time of the year, it does mean you're going to put a little bit of unnecessary weight on. And as long as you're okay with those consequences, who am I to judge? So we're moving less in the day. We're probably not going to the gym as much. Maybe we've had a crappy day. It's cold outside. You've had to defrost the car and you just think, do you know what? I'm not going to go tonight. I know that as I'm recording this, I did have 6 people booked in. I've now got 2 people booked in for the next session. Again, not a problem. I just sort of, I don't know, maybe I just want people to get results. That's all I want. So we've got lack of sort of movement outside of sessions, lack of gym sessions. And then because it's dark, because it's cold, we want to comfort eat a little bit. So our calorie intake goes up because shops foist these offers of beautifully marketed chocolate and crisps. And we think, it's just this. Like, my girlfriend loves Lindt, the chocolate, the posh chocolate, the Swiss chocolate, the Lindt figurines. And you know what? I get them for her because it's like, it's Christmas. So even I fall into that trap, but our calorie intake goes up. We stop probably eating the healthy things like the fruit and the veg because no one, unless it's soup, no one really craves fruit and veg at Christmas. Maybe little tangerines or clementines exclusively in a stocking, but I digress. So we've got this mix of lack of activity and then increased food intake with the justification that, it's Christmas. And what we then do is we defer any motivation to January. And it's probably what I would call a macro version of I'll start again on Monday. But it lasts for between 3 to 6 weeks. And 3 to 6 weeks, you can see a lot of results in that time. But you can also undo a lot of results in that time. And then by the time January comes, you've had 56 days of higher calories and less output. So that does have an effect. Anecdotally, no science behind this. I believe that if you have, say, 5 weeks off, it takes you 5 weeks to get back to where you were. So it is in my interest and my members and clients and people listening to this podcast interest to maybe actually think about what you intend to do. And this is the reason for this podcast. So here is what I would implore you to do. If you get a pen and paper, or you can do this mentally, absolutely up to you. The first thing I would do is mark days where you are going to go absolutely wild with your calorie intake and eat what you want. The obvious ones: Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Maybe if you've got a special occasion or a birthday, or you've got family members coming over, COVID dependent, then that's cool. Mark those off on, say, a calendar, or take a mental note of those. Or if you have your MyFitnessPal available, and you have MyFitnessPal Premium, so MyFitnessPal Premium, I think there's a 30-day trial on it. It enables you to give different calories to different days in your calendar. It's really useful. Now, I actually last year did a little experiment. The experiment was thus: I tracked my calorie intake over Christmas, but I allowed myself to eat whatever the hell I wanted. If someone offered me something, I would accept it. If you've seen Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me, yeah, a little bit like that, but Christmas edition. I think I had about 12,000 calories on Christmas Day. And many of you may be shocked and awed by that, but the thing that made it excessive was not the meal. It was the combination of alcohol and handfuls of sweets, crisps, and chocolate. Like that's what did it. I was exercising in the last Christmas period because, like, I need it in my daily. I like the gym. I opened a gym. I like it that much. So I continued exercising. But I had a 12,000 calorie day on Christmas Day, and then I had sort of multiple, say, 3,000 calorie days, which is just over what I would have normally. But my point is this: choose days where you want to eat and allow yourself to eat whatever you want. Have an amazing time with your family. Have an amazing time with whoever you're spending it with, and don't worry about it for those days. But probably don't make every day one of those days. That's what I'm saying. So let's say you pick 5 days. I'm going to pick 3. Christmas Day, somewhere between Christmas and New Year, because I'll be spending it with different people, and then New Year's Day I'll probably have something. So I'll pick 3 days where I do not care about my calorie intake. I'll have as much as I want. Then I'm going to pick days. So let's call those the red days. And if you've listened to my first episode of my podcast, you'll understand what I mean by that. Then what I am going to do is I'm going to pick maybe 3 extra days where it's orange. And orange to me is where sort of like I'm not sort of throwing caution to the wind and funneling heroes into my mouth, do you know what I mean, while simultaneously decking some creamy brandy sauce. That's not what I mean. I mean, potentially I'll have an indulgent meal. So maybe it is I visit my gran and then I have a cake, like just more than I would usually have. Yeah. And then the rest I'm going to call green days. So my red days are my fuck it days where I just eat whatever I want. My orange/amber days are the days where I might have an indulgent meal. And then my other days are green days. Now, if we're looking at the 15th of December and we go all the way through to the 5th of January, I've probably got 3 red days, 5 amber days, and then let's call it 20 green days. And those 20 green days, I'm going to be a little bit stricter with my nutrition. So I might, just an easy sum for you to use, body weight in pounds. So I'm 200 pounds. I'll times it by 12. That's quite the deficit for me. 2,400 calories per day on my green days. Over 20 days, I think that's enough of a deficit to at least maintain my body weight as it is now. And that is my strategy going into this. Now, if you want to have more red days, maybe you don't have as many amber days and you have more green days with your nutrition. But you will be able to have an amazing time with your family, an amazing time with your friends, but also not sacrifice the gains that you worked hard to get, or put yourself further back so January feels even harder and even guiltier than it would usually. In terms of exercise, if you can exercise, do it. But if it is just a walk every day, for your mental health, Go for a walk every day. Maybe it's about, I don't know, walking twice a day. Maybe it's a little bit of light yoga. Maybe it's doing a Joe Wicks workout. I don't know. But if you can do something, if you feel like doing something, something is always better than nothing. And it will help raise your metabolism a little bit. It will help you feel a bit happier, feel a bit more in control, and that's what we want. So in terms of Christmas, what we are looking for is not to throw caution to the wind and have 60 days where we just eat whatever we want, drink whatever we want, and pretend everything's okay. Let's take responsibility for this. Let's create a little bit of a plan that requires you to put a bit of effort in on the days where you're probably doing nothing anyway, and then have a really indulgent, amazing Christmas in what has been an absolutely terrible, terrible year. I love you all. I have missed interacting with everyone. If you listen to the podcast, if you've supported this podcast, thank you so, so much. We will be doing a January episode about how we feel January should go for people, maybe creating a plan a little bit like this one, but one you can implement that is New Year specific. So it will encompass your natural motivation after Christmas and make sure that things are sustainable so you don't burn out. We've got some questions from the gym floor we're going to do. We've had emails written in, which is very humbling. But thank you so much. I am just a guy who likes exercise and just likes talking about it. So if you need anything, give me a shout, steve@stevemarsdenfitness.com. And have an awesome, awesome Christmas if you do not hear my voice before then. Love to you all. Hope you're safe. See you later. Thank you so much for listening to the Normal People Fitness podcast. If you need any help, then give me a shout at www.stevemarsdenfitness.com. Have an amazing day and hopefully I'll see you soon.